Right. Have you ever found yourself saying something to your child and suddenly you realize that, hang on, that is exactly what my parents used to say to me? Or perhaps your children's behavior triggers an emotion that seems so much bigger than the situation itself. The truth is that parenting does not just raise children, it often reveals the part of ourselves that still needs healing. And in today's conversation, Nelly and I, we're going to be talking about reparenting ourselves while raising our children. And it's all about breaking unhealthy cycles, healing our wounds, and becoming the parents that we may not have had. For anybody who doesn't know me, welcome to our shows today. My name is Peggy Barre. I am the founder of Arise and Thrive Academy, domestic abuse practitioner, and I'll pass it to Nelly to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I am Nelly Kwasungwe, a social worker, transformational life coach, and founder of Hand in Hand Community CIC. Welcome to another session, and it's a powerful one. Grab your piece of papers, grab your pen, sit there, listen, and contribute. Let it be interactive. Have your comments or put your comments on the comment section, and we'll read it out and we'll talk about it. Share your experiences with us as we share ours, because Peggy and myself, we are all about learning, learning, learning. So thank you. I'll pass you over to Peggy.
Okay, so as we nearly have said, today's conversation is something that we're going to be exploring and we're learning. I am looking forward to learning some things, that maybe Nelly will spill out from her mouth because it's all about that learning journey. So, but yes, we are talking about reparenting ourselves. And I feel that the best way to start, you might be thinking, what is reparenting in the first place? So I feel that maybe the beginning start, we can start by first of all defining or explaining what reparenting is. I've got a definition in front of me, but Nelly, I might pass that to you if you have it. If not, then I can bounce back.
Yeah, you can define it. Let me share the link.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
well, reparenting yourself actually means learning to give yourself the care, compassion, guidance, and some emotional support you may have consistently, missed, or the emotions and the treatments that you may have missed while you were growing up as a child. It is not about blaming your parents, because I know that when it comes to reparenting, the first thought is thinking that, like, know what, but hang on, my parents didn't love me. They didn't give me the treatment that I needed as a child. They did this to me. Reparenting is not about blaming, because you know what, like I always say, if you were put in your parents' shoes at the time, maybe you would have acted and said the things and behaved the same way they did. So I always say, you know what, the bigger picture and the best path or the best choice to choose is to move away from blame and actually start on rebuilding. How can you reparent yourself? You need to look at yourself that, hey, here am I. I am still alive. How can I reparent myself? How can I teach myself the things that my parents did not teach me? Right. So, reparenting is all about recognizing that as an adult, we have the opportunity to heal, to grow, and to choose a different path, to heal ourselves. So that's it. So I don't know whether Nelly, you have something to add on that, and then we can roll.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important, because this is us shifting from blame. Because
Mhm.
yes, like Peggy said, our parents did their best. Whatever
Mm.
they did out of love, we would say, because parents love their children. They might treat their children harshly or softly, but all of
Mm.
it is coming from a place of love. So this is not a matter of blaming. What
Mhm.
it is, you accepting whatever you have experienced in your upbringing. And now that we have exposure to lots of research and all whatnot, let us take the first step to break that cycle. So then
Mhm.
we will improve on on our parenting and provide the
Mhm.
best for our children. So it is for the future generation, not for ours. So we learn. And when we are reparenting, like Peggy said, it's for us to identify the things that our parents did to us that we felt that was not right. And again, sometimes we do things and we said, oh, this is what my parents used to do and I didn't like it. But you find yourself doing exactly the same thing. Yes, as you were not happy when your parent treated you that way, that's the same way your children or your child feels when you are treating them that way. So it's for you to monitor what you say. And it's not to be overprotective of our children. It's just to be mindful of your own insecurities, because what are your insecurities? How are you dealing with your own insecurities? Are you
Mm.
shifting your insecurities onto your children in the form of overprotection? You don't want them to get in messy situations, but then you are not preparing them for independence. Rather, you are you are forming them up to be dependent their whole life, and that's when they struggle. So today is about thinking of how do we shift. First of all, how do we identify our parenting styles? How do we shift the parenting styles that we have? Because the hurt that we have, we need to heal from those hurt in order not to pass that over to our children. So today, like I said at the beginning, it's an interesting one. We will touch aspects that are hurting, but they are transforming.
Absolutely. So we're gonna dive straight to the, because I like I said, we all have that experiences. Nelly, there are times that when I look at how my own parents brought me up, and I'm thinking, you know what, it wasn't great. There are moments that was not great. There's a moment that when you look back, you can just appreciate them for the effort that they made, even though it was not ideal. What some of the treatment that we received wasn't ideal, but here we are, just like we say, it is about looking back and say, you know what, here am I, how can I be different? So we are going to be talking about some of the practical ways to heal from the past experiences while rebuilding healthier relationship with our children. And the best place to start with is, first of all, recognizing that our childhood actually shaped our parenting. We've said it before in most of the videos that the way we think, the way we act, the way we speak, these are all things that were inculcated in us by our own parental upbringing. We pick some from our families, we pick some from our communities, we pick some from friends, we pick some from schools. All of these things shape who we are. So the first point, first of all, is that recognition, acknowledgement, to say that, you know what, hang on, there is something wrong here. And where did I pick this from? Until we get to that point, then we cannot say, you know what, we cannot learn how to start unlearning some of those things that we picked. So the first thing is, first of all, recognize a childhood experience that, it shaped the way we respond to conflict. Our childhood experience shaped the way we express love. Our childhood experience shaped the way we handle emotions, the way we discipline ourselves and even our children, and the way we even believe in ourselves. So the important thing is now to ask yourself that, how was affection shown in my home when I was growing up? Was I allowed to express emotions? How were mistakes handled? And what message did I receive about my worth? So these are ways that we need to start exploring, going deeper, and start asking some of those questions. Because by answering those questions, that is how we are going to start healing from those experiences. So yeah, Nelly.
Yeah. Sometimes when we talk about reparenting,
Mhm,
people struggle to understand what that is.
mhm,
So there are some signs that you will realize, or maybe you've heard from someone, or someone
mhm,
has given you feedback, something like that, that you may realize that you need to reparent on specific aspects. It
mhm,
could be that you are overreacting to small behaviors. Let's say
mhm,
a child or someone does something and you overreact, and your reaction is not proportionate to that behavior. You might start thinking, oh, this is something that is coming from you, from within you, and not actually what that person has done. So it's just a trigger to your own unhealed trauma or unhealed experiences. You can be shouting, then you feel guilty because you realize that you overreacted by shouting
Yeah.
too much on something that was really, really small. Some people might struggle to apologize because they say,
Mm.
no, they expect other people to apologize to them, even when they are the ones who have done wrong. That one, again, is a sign that you need reparenting on a specific aspect. You might
Mm-hmm.
fear that your child might reject you,
Mm-hmm.
difficulty calming yourself down, or you might be a people's pleaser. It
Yeah.
comes from your childhood. What is that? We hear about perfectionism, emotional numbness. Some people, because of past experiences, they didn't have the opportunity to express their emotions or even to talk about it or even to get that affection. So then what
Mm-hmm.
they did is they suppressed their emotions, and they are just numb about emotions to the extent that some say it's just natural that they don't have emotions. They don't know, they can't express their emotion. But no, it's a learned behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So these are just some of the signs that you need reparenting on specific aspects.
That is so true. When they talk about perfectionism, I think that is one thing that I learned from my own childhood when I was growing up. I don't know. I've reflected where I actually picked it from and where exactly it came in. I can't lay my hands on it, but all I know is that I was so like, you know what? If something is not 100% right, it's not right. And I will stretch myself, to make sure that, and then, by so doing, I will kind of work myself out. And I am still seeing that same pattern repeating itself. What even about cleanliness? That is another thing again that I feel like, you know what, as a child, I don't know where I picked it from, but these are some of the things that it actually shaped. And of course, these are some of the things that they may be good skills, they may be good qualities, but it's about asking ourselves, how is it actually affecting me in my own self?
Yeah,
Am I over putting pressure on myself that I need to meet this, meet that, and how is it affecting me? So these are some of the questions that, again, sometimes I need to ask myself. And like that, if I don't do it, what is going to happen? What is the worst that is going to happen? That if something is not done, or if I'm not perfect in it, what is going to happen? So these are some of the questions that I asked also to challenge myself to slow down and make sure that, what, nothing is going to happen if I don't do it in the way that I was brought up to do. Which again, I feel that is the same thing that we can be. It's part of. So in a way, I'm reparenting myself. Am I right, Nelly? You
yeah.
know.
That awareness is the first thing, is the first step to change. Because
Yeah.
when you become aware of what you do and you realize that, but hang on, you can change this. That's already, you have awareness. Because
Yeah.
some people don't even see that what they are doing can be changed, can be altered. So in that case, they are not even ready to change, and they cannot change because they are not seeing that that behavior is problematic. But yours is different. You have that awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there are lots and there are different psychological tools that you can use. I don't know if I've shared this with you, but I'll talk about two here. One main one
Mm-hmm.
that you can do. It's called the saboteur assessment. It's a free tool. You can use it. It's under positive intelligence. If you look at saboteur assessment, you can
Mm-hmm.
do it. So for the saboteur assessment, it has 9 criteria. So when you have a number of questions, and when you answer the questions, it will come up with the top 5. You have things like perfectionism, hyper vigilant, that 9 of them.
Mm.
So, but then after, when you have your results, it has details of the scores that you have. So that's
Okay.
something that you can.
I think I need to do that assessment.
Yeah, and then there's something called control drama. So everyone has a control drama. You know, when you were talking about perfectionism and you said you couldn't identify where you developed that from, there's something called control drama. Check up on control drama because, okay, what control drama says is, I cannot remember the actual names, but it has a grid of 4 boxes. And it
Mm-hmm.
says if a parent is, say, over controlling, too strict, the child will be the child will develop the opposite behavior to what the parent is portraying. So,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, if the parent is always wanting that the child should do the things like very strict, the child might develop like, because the child might not want to do certain things. So the child will develop attitude for like how do you call it? Do things when people are watching, that kind of.
Mm.
So also look for control drama. It's very
Okay.
interesting. Okay, sorry, I've gone astray.
No, that is interesting. That is interesting. That is what, taking a look at,
Mm,
to learn some of these things. And when you were talking, I do feel that most children play control drama because why do you explain that when parents are around, when visitors are around, they are so nice. They behave so the way they will talk and the way they will act. But then when that person is not there, they are different. So that's why you see sometimes you see a child when people see a child the first time, they say, "Oh, this boy is so lovely, he's so calm, he's so respectful." Oh, but then the parent will be like, you know what, wait until you see this child in another. So you understand. So I'm sure that is where control drama fits because and then again, this is a challenge now. So when you see your child performing like that, you know that there's something not right with your parenting. There's something not right because if I'm right, does that make sense?
yeah, naturally, children are manipulative. So what you're
Yeah.
talking about is manipulative. It's different from control drama because just read control drama and there are loads that you come out from there.
All right.
So
I'll
children
check.
are
I'll
very
check.
manipulative and they do that. So I
Mm,
would share my one of my experience. I have so many experiences. So I used to cook at home, and there were certain food that I will cook and my children, some of my children will not eat. So when
mm-hmm.
we will go on occasions, parties, whatever, and they want to give food, I say, no, this child doesn't eat that particular food. But one day I felt that I was disgraced by this very child because when the lady was giving out food, I said, no, 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 my child doesn't eat that food. And then my child went and pointed that same food, that's what they want to eat. And they gave the food. My child sat and ate all of that food. I just sat
Wow.
like this, just watching them because I was shocked. Because for years, they have not eaten that same food when in my
Mm.
house, and I've not seen them eat anywhere. But that day I was like, what? So since then, I said to myself, if I take any of my children anywhere and are serving food, I will not speak on their behalf because that day I felt really disgraced.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
right, the second thing that we need to talk about is first of all, so we're talking about practical ways, to kind
Mm,
of heal from or reparent yourself. So, we've talked about acknowledgement. The
yeah.
next thing that, of course, we want to talk about is identify the patterns that you want to break. We've been talking about some of these patterns because guess what? In every family, we've got patterns, right? Some are healthy, some are harmful. For example, things like shouting instead of communicating. You've seen some families like for generation, right? The grandparents, in fact, shouting is a means of communication. That is how they communicate, by shouting. And so that is a family pattern that they may have had. It may be working for them, it may not be working for them, we don't know. We've got emotional distance can also be a pattern. What about criticism instead of encouragement? It can also be a pattern. And of course, we've talked about perfectionism, which again is a pattern. And another pattern again is about avoiding conflict, difficult conversation, which I think Nelly you mentioned. There are some people that they don't want to have an argument. There's some people that they want to avoid difficult, conversation. Anything that is going to make them feel uncomfortable, they dodge away from it. And sometimes when we see that is, in fact, that is me a few years ago, Nelly. I used to run away from difficult conversation. Hardly because what? Maybe I was so naive, and two, maybe because I did not have the confidence to actually engage in some of this conversation. And so the best way for me was just to chicken out and hide, and not to say anything. And then maybe in that course, I may just accept, the blame, or accept the blame just because I'm running away from having that conversation. But looking back now, which I would say maybe I've parent myself again in that area, is to look at the fact that, hey, difficult conversations are necessary. It may not go the way you want. You may be criticized. They may bring some points which are against you or for you, but at the end of the day, that difficult conversation is necessary. So it's about asking myself, how do I build the knowledge? How do I build the skill and the courage and the confidence to be able to have a difficult conversation? So in that area, that is where now I say, okay, I need to parent my own self, because maybe I picked that skill as a child. Now I need to relearn to say, you know what, it's okay to have a difficult conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, and with regards to the difficult conversation, I think that's a common one because
Mm.
people are people's pleasers, and it's because
Mm.
they avoid difficult conversation. They struggle
Yeah.
to say no because when they say no, they feel guilty, and they
Mhm.
always say yes, yes, yes to everything because they don't want to hurt the other people. But then they
Mhm.
are hurting themselves. So, like you said, it's to learn those skills because when you say no to, say, a task that is given you, you are saying yes to your self care.
Mhm.
So a no to something is indirectly a yes to something. And your self care is very, very important. Those are the kind of things that we need to identify and then to
Mhm.
start re-parenting ourselves because sometimes we do things, for instance, we care for other people, but then we don't even have time for ourselves. Most of that, we could have seen that growing up where our parents did everything for us. Like parents will work from morning till night doing all sorts. And then
Mm.
when they come back at night, they are really tired, but they'll have to cook. Like the mom will have to cook, the dad will have to do their own things, probably coordinate the children, help the children with their homework and things like that. In the morning, another day again, they don't even have time for themselves. We might pick
Yeah.
up on that, that we just have to keep on working. We just have to keep on working. But then our bodies are the vehicle. How can we continue running the vehicle without putting petrol? We need to stop. And that putting petrol, that's the self-care that we need to take a step back and identify that to reparent, we need to just sit down and do nothing. Do nothing. Because some people beat themselves up and say, no, that's being lazy. No, it's not. It's just resting your body and it's necessary.
I wish you could just drill that in my head, right inside and to the back, and let it come back in front. Because you know what? If I'm talking about some of the areas that I need to really be serious about reparenting, is this: I'm a workaholic. I'm a workaholic. And I feel like if there is one time that I'm not doing anything, I just need to be doing, my hand just needs to be doing something. And for example, I came the other day, and honestly, when I looked at it that day, I don't really know what was going on. I came back, I think day before yesterday, and I had some food. When I finished eating, that sleep that will come immediately after eating, especially as I rushed my meal because I was so hungry the whole day. Nelly, I sat on the table in the kitchen, and I slept on that table. And I think I slept there for nearly 2 hours.
Oh,
And in the course of that, I kept waking up. But each time something came to my mind, like, Peggy, just go and lie on the sofa. I'll say no, I'll put my head back there and continue sleeping. Can you imagine the inconvenience sitting on there? And by the time I woke up, finally woke up, my neck was hurting, my jaw has squashed into my watch, my chest, because I was leaning it on top of the dining table. Even now, if I press that, I can still feel the pain on my chest. And finally, I was asking myself, like, what was all of that? What was all of that? So don't you know that, what, but this, you could have come and sleep on the bed, you could have gone and sleep on the sofa. Why did you have to sit there and just punish yourself? Again, maybe that is something in my mind to say, what, for me to go and sleep, like relax during the day, I feel like, what, I don't need it. So again, these are some of the things that we really need to be hardcore on ourselves, that, what, hey, I need to, I need to have compassion for myself. I need to take care of myself, So I'm beginning to say there's certain things that I do now. It's like, what? I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it to please somebody. I'm doing it for my own self. So, which is very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. I mean, I learned that I used to be a workaholic as well, and burnout. I mean, burnout was not a good experience, but it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot because I believe if I did not experience burnout, I wouldn't have learned self-care because I
Hmm.
used to work. So when I experienced burnout, I felt guilty that I was not working, I was just sitting. And at the time, one of the mentors that I had, he said, Nelly, you have been working for many, many years so hard. Now is your body telling you that you need to rest. I'm like, what would I be doing? And he said, Nelly, you have told me you like gardening. Someday, just spend the whole day at the garden center, just walk from what. I was like, really? So it came to me like a shock. And that was someone just suggesting to me. And I did that. And since then, I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I just decide deliberate. I just sit. No phone, no music, no radio,
Hmm.
nothing. I just sit in silence, just
Hmm.
myself. And then that has helped me in that quiet moment to listen to the racing thought and then trying to narrow my focus, and it has
Hmm.
really helped me because now I can easily select what thought I want to focus on, because if not of burnout, I'm not sure I could have had that time to really develop the self-care skills that I have now. So one thing spoils and fixes some other. So it's for us to identify those things or those behaviors in our parenting or our parenting styles that we feel that we did not really appreciate our parents, because that will be the same thing for our children. And let's ask feedback from people around us and even from our children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one point that I've got here is heal before you react, because sometimes our children's behavior will touch old wounds. And this is why it's very important. Nelly, I've stressed, we've so stressed so much on this to heal, before we can actually, parent healthily. For us to have successful parenting journey, we need to heal ourselves. And I know sometimes the healing journey can be long, but so long as you are on it, you're getting somewhere. A child's a defiance, if a child keep defying or refusing to do something, that may remind of how we used to be punished. If you tell a child to do something and they say no, that may trigger something. Sometimes a child may just even take, maybe do something, and it triggers, even especially if you've been through a relationship abuse, it may trigger something. It may trigger even the way maybe the ex-partner used to treat you, something. But now we cannot say that this memory are not going to come. They're going to come. But the question is, how do we deal with it when it comes? How do we react when they come? Do we let, there is a diagram that I drew, or that I sketched in my book when I wrote my book, when I was talking about negative thinking and positive thinking. I'll say like negative thinking, when it comes, it stays in the mind and ruminate and ruminate and ruminate and just stays there. You know, if we don't have the power to let it out, it will stay there, and from there it start producing emotions, and emotions it start producing behavior and all of that. But positive or positive mindset is that this negative emotion or these negative thoughts are going to come in, but when we know how to deal with it, immediately we send it out, right? So our mind is free, you know. So it is about knowing how do we deal with some of these some of these thoughts when they come in due to trigger, you know, from our kids. Because mind you or not, they're going to trigger us in one way or the other. It's just like my son. When my son is cooking in the kitchen, honestly, I used to, it used to baffle me the way he'll be like, you know, making some noise, and the same way the dad used to do. And I was like, at least now, sometimes I laugh when he does that. Now I just laugh. I'll just like look at him. There was one time I asked, I said, why do you do that? And he doesn't even realize it. He doesn't even realize it. But then I said, why do you do that? And he said, you're just like, you know. But again, if I did not know how to, then that's how sometimes, can you imagine that if it was something negative, you see some parents who start lashing out on that child just because that they're mimicking something that used to come from that. So it is very important that we heal. We heal before we react. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, just in line with that, that with identifying the triggers, just some ways that, just some questions that you can ask yourself in that
Mhm.
process of moving away from hurting or re-hurting yourself and re-parenting yourself. So
Mhm.
when you realize a trigger, ask yourself, why did that
Mm.
upset? So in my case, I'll say, why did that upset me? So I'll have
Yeah.
a think about that. And what another question is, what does this remind me of? Because obviously it
Mm.
will be a reminder of something. And at that time, the third question is, how old do I feel right now?
Mm.
Because it will take you back to the origin.
Yeah.
And back to the origin, if you are honest to yourself, the answers are always there because they are all stored in your subconscious mind. So when you ask those questions, you will remember because they are there. You have just asked that question and you can go back to your subconscious mind. Or sometimes it might be difficult, but when you bring that question to mind, you realize after some time, you just have like a flash of, say, an answer, and you'll be thinking, oh, why did that come up? Because your mind, our minds, are just receivers of information. When you
Mhm.
send information, it will search for whatever you've been looking for. And that's why sometimes we just have these flashes. But it's really helpful because if you go back to the origin of something that triggered you, again, I've talked about awareness. That is awareness. And from there, you can choose what you want to do with that awareness. Do you want to accept it and change it? Or do you want to continue suppressing it and let it continue bothering you? It's up to you.
Mhm.
So I think that's
Absolutely.
one of the ways you can deal with triggers.
Yeah. And another thing that again is about, I don't know whether that touches on the next point, is the learn how self-awareness, compassion, emotional, but I think it's still on the explore practical ways to heal from. Another way to heal from that, you know, from a past experience and learn how to reparent ourselves is to give our child what you needed or what we needed as a child. You know, the things that were missing. And when we're talking about giving, does not mean material things, right? We need to learn like what are the sort of what are the things that we want, that we would have loved to hear from our parents that we did not hear from them. Things like, you know what, I'm proud of you, it's okay to cry, you matter, I'm listening, I love you no matter what. Some of these things, you know what, you did well done. Some of these little things that we were longing or we longed to have as a child and we didn't have it, by us relearning or reparenting ourselves, is by giving these things to our children. Because I know sometimes you say that, oh, my parents did not, they never ever told me I love, but that does not that does not justify why you shouldn't tell your child you don't love them. So it's about looking at those things that you missed and making sure that you give your children those things.
Yeah, and that's a good point. But looking at what you missed, when you want to give your child, give what your child needs,
Yeah.
not from your own perspective. Because
Mm-hmm.
I know we've talked about something like hug. Let's say when you were young, you hoped or you wished for someone just to hug you and say you are good, but then you didn't get that. And now you have children and you want to hug the children, squeeze them, and the
Yeah.
child might be the child who doesn't like skin to skin contact. They avoid it and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So when you are giving, be mindful that it is something that your child or children need.
Mm-hmm.
Don't impose. So you can initiate and just wait for the reaction from your child. If
Mm-hmm.
they show that they want a hug as well, then you will take it from there and you can smother them with hugs and all whatnot. Moving away from there, another point is try to repair after conflict.
Mm.
When there are conflict, at the time when the heated conflict is going on, it's not good. It's not good. But then when you realize yourself, it's okay to say, I'm sorry, I shouted at you.
Yeah.
I was frustrated. You didn't deserve to be spoken to like that.
Yeah.
Make sure you repair. Say your own part, and when you are saying it, don't just saying it for the sake of saying it. Let it come from the heart. If you
Mm.
say it and the other person doesn't accept it, it's up to them. It's similar to forgiveness.
Yeah.
We have been taught forgiveness the wrong way because
Mm.
we were taught that if you want to forgive someone, you need to go to that person and tell them that you forgive them and for that person to accept. But now I have learned that if someone hurts me and I want to forgive them, I forgive them from my heart and I don't have to tell them that I forgive them. But just my reaction, if I happen to meet the person again, they will realize that there's something different because that
Mhm.
anger will not be there. So in a way, that's me again reparenting myself because the things that I used to get upset about,
Mhm.
I've learned not to. And that's how it's helping me with my parenting because even with my children, I will not have to be angry unnecessarily, is to let go of things. If we have a disagreement, we disagree to agree. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
that when we disagree, we don't talk to each other. No. So it's
Mm.
learn to repair after conflict.
Absolutely. And we've been talking about some of these practical tools without actually one of the things that again is to consider a seek support when needed. Because
Mm.
remember that healing from your past is a journey and the journey can be tough. There's sometimes the journey may even be difficult going on that journey alone. So it is very important to say, you know what, if you need support, by all means seek support, seek counseling. It might be a therapist, a coach, or even a trusted friend, that you can share with and that can help you as well. You need to find maybe if you're in church or maybe in a faith group, somebody that that if you express yourself, you feel comfortable to express yourself and you feel that they've got some way to help you or to assist you. So again, know that it's a journey that you don't want to walk the journey on your own. There are support, a lot of support that you can get in that reparenting journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think have we covered all the practical steps then, Nelly? Then we can move to the third point. Have you got some pointers on your at the end?
I think we've talked about most of the. Let me just see. We've talked about give yourself what you didn't receive. We've already talked about that. Let me just see
Yeah.
if I've got another point. Break harmful generational patterns. So
Mm,
this is massive. we want to parent our children the way we were parented and the way our parents were parented, and it goes down the line. And because it's gone on from generation to the next, people express that it's become natural. But no,
Mm.
because it's been going on like that, it's a learned pattern. And we know of epigenetics, it has been inherited from one generation to the next. And people don't necessarily know the root of that, but because they've learned from observation or from their community, from their families, they have just been doing it without knowing the rationale. So it's on that aspect that they say it's just natural. So we need to keep questioning ourselves, like, where did this come from? How long did I know this? Just question. Like I say, question on everything. Question on
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
Sometimes we tell our children, do this. And when the child asks, he said, because I say so. Now, it's for us to shift from that kind of language to trying to explain things that really matter, because children like to understand things. That is why they ask questions. They might ask the same question in different ways, and probably they keep asking the questions because you are not answering the question. You keep dodging away from the question, and then they answer it different ways. For instance, we hear about boys or big boys don't cry. That's not helpful because boys have emotions. If a boy wants to cry, let them cry, because it's that's negative energy that is going out. So instead of saying that big boys don't cry, you can say something like, it's okay to cry. Let's talk
Yeah.
about what you are feeling. Because that
Absolutely.
way is their emotions. They are learning that they are in a safe space where they can let their emotions out rather than suppressing it, because suppressing those emotions will cause more harm than good. And just for me to add something in this on this point, Peggy. So we are doing hand in hand community CIC. We are running an online program titled Our Roots, Our Stories. Every family has a story.
Yeah.
And this is about intergenerational differences, because say my grandparents, the way their communication, just for example, communication is different from my parents, mine, and my children. So these are four different generations, and communication is just so different. So
Yeah.
in this program, our stories, our roots, our stories, we just have conversation with the family. Families have, they have worksheets that they do within the family, and it is not about judgment, it's about listening. Just listen so you understand the perspective of every member of that family, the different generations, and no judgment. So we have this, it's online, we have online sessions, and it holds every first Thursday of the month, and it's online.
Okay.
I'll put the link on the comments so anyone who wants to register can register and join us with your family. We encourage children from 7 years old to join because the activities are child friendly. So from 7 years old, they can engage. And it's a good idea to understand the different perspective through different generations. That's
Oh,
just what I
that is
wanted to
amazing.
say. Thank you.
That's amazing. I need to find one of those Saturday, one of those Thursdays, and attend to see how they. Yeah, it's good because honestly, until we understand, until we understand the changes in our generation, the way we communicate, the way we think, the way we perceive things, it will be difficult to have healthy relationship because there will always be that barrier. There will always be something that is breaking or stopping that healthy relationship. Because again, maybe because of the belief, but if our children don't understand it and if we don't take the initiative to also understand their perspective, then of course there's bound to be that barrier. I think the last point we're going to talk about is learning also have to have self-compassion, self-compassion, because again, I feel we've touched on that third point. We've touched some points on that third point because the best way for us to actually heal or reparent ourselves is to first of all be kind to ourselves. And kindness begins from that acknowledgement, like we say, because if we're so rigid and we're not acknowledging, or we're being dismissive of our own behaviors or dismissive of our own beliefs, then we cannot heal. So it's about coming to a point where you say, you know what, you need to be kind to yourself. You need to tell yourself, you know what, hang on, you're not a monster. You're not a bad person. You are a good parent. Give yourself the qualities, the accolades that you want to give yourself, but then step forward and say, you know what, this is how I can improve. This is what I want to work on to become like this. So it's about having that self-compassion for ourselves and the need for growth. It's very, very important.
Yeah. And just thinking about parents who feel that they're parenting, that are not good enough parents, they might
Mm,
be in a very dark place where they feel that they cannot change. And some people
mm,
say it, some parents say it, that the way they are, they can never change, probably
mm,
because they have been told what to do. But for me, I see it in a different way because, okay, now, Peggy, if you tell me what to do, you are
mhm,
telling me based off your experience, it could be personal or professional, that you are telling me how to do things. But then
mhm,
if you help me to think of how I can do it to make a change,
mhm.
that is you empowering me. Because if
Yeah.
I'm faced with that situation, I would try to figure out. So I think where I'm coming at here is for services in general to take a step back from fixing people. No one is meant to be fixed.
Yeah.
Everyone has their solutions to the problems they are going through. What
Mhm,
services need to do is to help these people feel that they are valued. When parents feel that they are valued, they will do what it takes to change whatever is not going right with their parenting because they know it affects their children. But then if
yeah.
services keep going and say you have to do this, you don't have to do that, they're dictating to parents, and parents don't take to it. But then there's either parents are not engaging or parents are not ready to change. But then I think taking a step back is a professional. What approach are you using?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that just comes to mind because, to be honest with you, if you want to know the mind of most parents, parents will want the support to help to support their children. They want the help, necessary help to support their children. But you said something right there. It's about the approach sometimes. Some parents sometimes will back off or maybe engaging because of the approach. So again, well, I feel like hopefully if somebody who is in the services, these are some of the things that we need to take on board, that it's about giving the parents that independent, or giving the parents that power to know that, you know what, they can. Because I've seen cases, Nelly, where sometimes services come in and make the parent feel like, you know what, they can't do anything. That just diminishes them. That just breaks the little confidence that they have in themselves. So it's very important the way we approach families and how we want to support them. If we are really going there that we want to support them, they will also need to create an environment where they feel empowered to say that, you know what, I am okay and I want this support and I can, support my child.
Yeah. And I think, Peggy, now I think the government is making that move. There's a strengthening families, which this new government initiative, where they are moving care to families. I mean,
Mm,
there are positives and there are negatives, but people have said, parents have said, the government, the system has taken over their powers over their parenting, over their children. I think this
mm,
move to to give parents that responsibility, they had the responsibility to give parents their powers back, I would say,
Mhm.
will really help parents. And that's where services need to make that change, because from long ago, they have been
Mhm.
talking about empowerment, but then they were talking about empowerment, strength-based approach, person-centered, and all whatnot. But in the
Mhm.
practical aspect of it, those were not necessarily used. So I
Mhm.
think now it's a crucial time to move away from just doing things for families or for parents, to really
Mhm.
empowering those parents. And how do practitioners do this? A lot of the times we sit and think that, oh, the local authority, the government needs to make the change, the organization that we are working with needs to make the change. Yes, we know there are systemic issues, but then what are the professionals doing? Because imagine if you are doing, say, a parenting assessment, or you are supporting a family and you go to this family, what conversations are you having? You, as a
Mhm.
practitioner, are you equipped to have difficult conversations?
Mhm.
And sometimes it depends how you ask those questions. Difficult conversations might break a cycle, because
Mhm.
it might help a parent take a step back and they realize that, oh, this is what I was doing wrong. So those conversations are needed. So again, it's for professionals to learn how to ask those powerful reflective questions, because you might have one conversation with a family, and that one conversation will trigger a lot of things and can help that family to change drastically. But then, if
Mm.
you don't have the courage to ask such questions, you keep going and doing the same things and nothing will be changing.
Absolutely. That is so true. That's really true. So I think we've covered a lot of the points. We've covered most of the points. Or did you have something to add on that last point, Nelly? We're talking
No,
about
I think
compassion and
we've covered the points. Earlier on, we talked about
yeah,
self-awareness, and we've
yeah,
talked about emotional growth. So we've
yeah,
talked about forgiveness, set boundaries. We talk
yeah.
about set boundaries a lot of times.
Absolutely. And one
And
thing we just want to close, is to remind yourself that, hey, we all go through different true circumstances. We go through pain and they shape us, shape who we are. But here we are as parents. We've got these little ones that we need to also kind of, parent them, bring them up. It's about asking ourselves, what can I do differently to make sure that I parent differently? And remember that this is a healing process, it's a journey that you're taking. And it's not about becoming perfect, right? Because sometimes when we come, I always say, and you've heard me say so many times that we are all work in progress. We are all work in progress. It's a journey. And, it is about becoming more present. It's about becoming self-aware. It's about becoming compassionate. We've talked about self-care, which again Peggy needs to take that home. So yes, so we've talked about self-care. So when we heal ourselves, we don't just change our lives, right? We change the future of our children. That is one thing that we need to really take with us, because our children are watching us, right? Whatever thing we're building today, they are watching us. And what do we want them to become? It all depends on the choices that we make today. So if today's conversation actually resonate with you, and then of course, there are practical tips that you can take from what we've shared. There are ways that you can even share it with somebody, share it with a parent, or share it with somebody around you. In that way, we are all learning together. Yeah.
yeah,
So Nelly.
just before we finish, I just want to share some practical daily habits that you can
Mm,
develop. Is mostly asking yourself. So in the morning, ask yourself, how do I want my child to experience me today?
mm, that's a
So then
powerful one.
in the morning, you'll be trying to do things the way you would want your child to experience it. Then in the afternoon, notice one moment where you stayed calm.
Mm,
Maybe you were used to overreacting about on small issues. Just take
mhm,
the moment to stay calm. When you succeed to stay calm, celebrate it. Celebrate
Absolutely.
it. Me, I'm all about celebration. And then in the
Yeah.
evening, reflect. What went well today? What
Very
triggered me?
important.
What can I repair tomorrow?
Hmm.
And that is it for the day. So, morning, afternoon, evening. Try that for 7 days, and then it will become a pattern for you. And then before you know it, that's where the self-awareness comes in, and you start trying different things. And yeah, so that's just a tip I wanted to share with you today.
That is so good. That is so good. And there's one thing that again, I just want to commend myself. The other day, I came again that workaholic thing. And then those beliefs that you feel like, when a child comes back from school, you need to go to your room, go change your uniform, and then before you come down. So my son just came back from school that day and just left his bag on the sofa. I just turned on the TV. I'm just watching TV. And then here I came with some shopping. And then I was like, can you take this back to the kitchen? Can you take this shopping to the kitchen? Can you put and before that came out of my mouth, I went to the kitchen and I just said to myself, Peggy, shush, just let that child relax. Let that child relax. And then I literally I told myself that if relaxation is not your thing, let other people relax. So so that is the extent that what I'm just like, let me not bring, like, you just let people relax, and eventually maybe from then I can start saying that what, it's okay. It's okay. Who said that if they don't change their uniform immediately then come, what will happen? Nothing will happen. So again, it's about just breaking some of these things, these habits or
Yeah.
beliefs.
And like you said, we are all work in progress. There are things that, I mean, just be open minded and
Yeah.
just that yeah, let's just
Yeah.
be open to making
Yeah.
the positive changes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much for staying with us for another conversation. We hope that you learned something. Like we always say, we come here just to chat. It just flows from our own experiences. And we hope that at least we'll drop some nuggets, that it might be a refresher, it might be a point of reflection for you. You may learn something. So again, we will see you again in 2 weeks' time. And like Nelly said, check out Nelly's link for the parents, is it parents, my roots, my roots.
Our roots,
And
our stories.
yes, our root, our stories. I've seen the flyer and it's very. I think I'm going to try and attend one of those sessions just to see what happened, in the sessions. So yeah, hopefully keep taking care of yourself, keep parenting in the best way you can, keep learning, keep growing, and you know what, you are doing an amazing job. And yeah, until we meet again, you take care of yourself.
Thank you. Bye.